keeping eyes on the police departments and their behavior towards the Raza people. In 1970, in 1970, I was taken in by the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, uh, out of Oakland. They came to Dewey Continuation School and hauled my ass out to their office and accused me of being a member of the CLF, which was the Chicano Liberation Front. Now, the Chicano Liberation Front was well known in the Chicano movement as a group that bombed Safeway stores and Bank of America's in support of the United Farm Workers Organizing Committee during the Great Boycott. They said that they had a communique from the CLF and a handwriting sample from the CLF because they had bombed a Safeway store in Berkeley and sent the communique to KPFA radio, which was the radical station way back in the day. They had me do a handwriting sample, which I passed. So that wasn't me. And they did a voice analysis and I passed it. It wasn't me. Now I may have known who was involved, but I wasn't saying shit. So after 3 hours of holding me and questioning me, and they also showed me a lot of pictures of a lot of Chicanos at different rallies and a lot of people that I knew. And they asked me if I knew somebody, any of them. I said, no, I don't know any. He goes, well, you're standing there. It looks like you're talking to so. I said, well, yeah, I think that person was asking me for directions on how to get somewhere. That's the only conversation I had. So they finally had to let me go. They were pissed off, but again, it wasn't me. The CLF was known for, along with bombing Safeway stores and Bank of America's, one night they did 5 bombs at within half hour of each other. One in San Francisco, 2 in Oakland, 1 in Hayward, and 1 in San Jose. And they all went off at within a half hour of each other. And again, they never found out who in the hell it was. The other thing that they were famous for, which was major, back in the day, during I think 1970, maybe 71 or 72, they shot down and killed a police officer flying a helicopter. Now he died, and the other guy that was in the helicopter with them was injured. They were fucking hella pissed, and they went after everybody and questioned anybody on the street. So the streets were quiet that night for at least a month. It was terrible. So in early 1976, the CRP, the Chicano Revolutionary Party, disbanded. I moved out of Oakland and went to Hayward. And I was home one night and I was watching a cable TV show called Lo que es, meaning what it is. And they were students from Ohlone Junior College, and they were mocking Raza youth, Batos and Rucas and Cholos. And so I called them up and cussed them out. And they, there goes my call. So the following week, I saw the show again. They did the same thing, and I called them up again and cussed them out. And the producer, Manuel Gonzalez, said, "Look, if you don't like our show, you're welcome to come down here and help us redirect the show." And I thought about it, and off I went to Hayward Cable and started getting involved with the show. I learned how to use their black and white video equipment, and there I was off on Saturday nights to cruise night on Tennyson, and I'm at the Jack in the Box and all the way up to Senaida's Mexican restaurant. And uh, I videotaped that and put that stuff on the air, which opened the door for me to do more stuff. I learned how to use all their equipment and got real comfortable with it. And me and my compadre, Tony Guerra, I got him to start hosting the show. And then I would have other people do segments. I was the producer of the show from 1976 to 1985. We were on once a week. As a producer, I did all the editorials on discrimination, the tactics of the Hayward Police Department, and I got real comfortable doing that. Barrio Expressions lasted for 10 years, and we have been approved by the San Jose State Chicano Studies Department to be historically preserved for all time. And that's a major accomplishment for a show, a grassroots show that came out of nowhere and just blew it up. While in Hayward, there was the guy named Officer Manuel Martinez and Officer Gil Sanchez, I believe, and they Martinez kept harassing me, and he told me he was going to bust me one day. Now, I had a lot of enemies and a lot of conflicts with people, so I always packed my 38 revolver under the seat of my Fiat X19, but they never found it. And I got stopped a lot. Officer Martinez, knowing that he couldn't mess with me, went after my stepson, Carlos Castorena, who was like about 13 back then. And he went after him and a kid named Javier Maravilla on Grand Avenue, right across the street from the BART station. And when I saw that he had him up against the wall, I went up to him. I said, "What the fuck are you doing with my son?" He goes, "Step back. This is official police business. I could have you arrested." I said, "Look, you little punk, I don't give a shit. You leave my kids alone." And I told Carlos, "Go home and start your homework, and Hava, go inside and get your dad." He goes, "I could have you arrested for interfering with a police officer." I said, "I wish you would bust me." So he let me go. And the next day I went to Chief Charles Plummer, who was the head of the Hayward Police Department, and complained to him about that I was being harassed by Officer Martinez. So I said, he put my son in the computer system identifying him as a gang member. And so Plummer went over to the computer and typed out his name, also the name of Javier, and said, "Yep, here they go. They've been identified as a member of the B Street gang." I said, "My son is not involved in no gangs, so I would not allow that kind of crap. And you need to tell Officer Martinez to leave me and my family alone." So he got Officer Martinez into the office and told him, "Apologize to Mr. Espinosa. You are to leave him and his family alone. If you have any contact with Mr. Espinosa again, day or night, I don't care what time it is, you call me directly before you take any action. Do not do anything unless I say so." So Martinez was hot. Had to apologize to me, which tore his ass up, and he had to let me go. Now, the other thing that Martinez did, there was a kid named Mark Serrano, who was a good friend of mine. He was from Los Cerros Senior Boys Camp at Juvenile Hall. Now, Mark, after I had got fired by La Familia Counseling Center for insubordination and refusing to change the direction of our TV show, Mark went to the La Familia Counseling Center and tore into their building and stole all their video equipment. And he comes to my house and goes, "Look, Juan, I got all this equipment. Do you want to buy it?" I said, "Man, this stuff is hot. I'd go to jail quickly. I'm not getting busted for that." So I didn't see Mark for about 2 years. He had went to the pawn shop and sold all the equipment to the pawn shop. They identified the equipment and busted him. So when Mark Serrano got out, he comes to my house and goes, Juan, you got to be careful, man. Martinez wants you bad." I said, "What are you talking about? Where have you been?" He goes, "I've been locked up for all that video equipment." He goes, "But Martinez came to Santa Rita and told me all I had to do was tell him that you put me up to ripping off La Familia. He would go after you. I would have to testify against you, and they would go after you and put you away. I would get out in a week." He goes, "But I told Martinez, he didn't tell me that. I did that shit on my own." So Martinez was up to his no good tricks and tried to get me, but again, he couldn't do it. So that was a major stepping stone. I had other run-ins with Martinez, but he never got anywhere. He could never bust me. But I want to thank everybody for coming out today. I think it was a great event, and I hope to see you guys at the next event. Okay, my name is Juan Big John Espinosa. Gracias.